The Elgin Police Department is dedicated to working in partnership with the community to promote safety and enhance the quality of life by serving with professionalism, encouraging open communication, and embracing diversity.
Engaged.
Partnering with our citizens and involved in our community.
Progressive.
Embracing innovative strategies while maintaining proven practices.
Dedicated.
Serving with integrity and professionalism. Elgin became an incorporated city in 1854 and installed its first police marshal, George W. Renwick. Over the years, the title of the head law enforcement officer changed from marshal to chief. And although the role has expanded, one duty has remained consistent: to ensure law and order for the citizens of Elgin.
It's time now for Fridays with the Finest, featuring Elgin's current police chief, Anna Lalley, on Elgin's hometown radio station since 1949, WRMN AM 1410 and 96.7 FM.
All right, welcome in everybody here to the Fridays with the Finest segment on WRMN AM 1410. It is Friday, June 11th. We thank you everyone for tuning in here today and being a part of that conversation, of course, talking about what's happening here locally in the Fox River Valley area and especially in Elgin. Thank you, Chief Lalley, for joining us today.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you today?
Good. Doing well, thank you. Yep. So we are here today. I don't know if you have any plans for, any questions or anything that's been going on. I obviously haven't been here for the past 2 weeks. So last time I saw you guys was at last Friday at the 4th of July parade, and you guys had a booth out there. So I stopped in quickly. You guys did a great job. We were a little nervous at first in the morning because of the weather, but then it kind of, it allowed us to have a great parade, no major incidents. Everyone was safe. The fireworks event at night, again, no major incidents. That to us is a success, right? We plan and plan and plan. We start planning now for Nightmare on Chicago Street. So that day it's all hands on deck and making sure that, our community has a safe event and that people are able to enjoy themselves. So I want to thank the Elgin community for everything, for you guys being out there, for being engaged with us, for, obviously we're successful because of the community. It's as simple as that. They partner with us, they support us. And so, it's important to me that we acknowledge that. So, and thank you to all the officers, obviously most importantly too, all the officers, all of our administrative support staff. It's a long day. So they come in, some of them come in at, 4:00 in the morning, and they don't go home until, 1:00 at, the next morning. So, thank you to all the officers. Again, true professionals. And I truly appreciate, it's a great thing when you have a successful event and you get a lot of good feedback. I think that's the mark of success for that day, right? And then we continue to do the work. So, but yeah, I have a guest with me today, and I'm going to get into a couple things before we talk to my guest. But I'm going to have him introduce it because it's kind of awkward. He just sits here in silence when I'm like, so it is Sergeant Hector Guiterrez. And so people, I think, in the community know Hector, right? So he knows a lot of people, has done a lot of great things for the department. I like to call him Hector. Did you ever see the movie Troy?
No.
You gotta see them. You gotta see. There's a part in there where Brad Pitt is calling out Hector, right? And he just is like, Hector. So when I say good morning to Hector, that's how I say good morning to him. So that's his morning. Good morning. So Hector, introduce yourself, who you are, how long you've been here, what you've done, and now what your new role is.
Okay. So Sergeant Hector Guiterrez. I've been in the police department for almost 13 years now. When I started, it's everything has gone so fast. It's 13 years and great experience. Learned a lot, met great people in the community and in the police department. But so I was in patrol, then transitioned to the ROPE program, which is the resident officer program. I was there for about 7 years. I lived in the near west side of Elgin. Shout out to the near west side. And after that, also, became I was in the process of testing for the SWAT team, which I'm a member of the SWAT team as well. I joined the Honor Guard team, and then eventually, got out of the ROPE program, went back to patrol, then got my promotion to sergeant Lately, what I've been doing is the new PIO for the police department. So anything in social media, any questions you guys might have, you can, reach out to me. You can find my information online, and any questions, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, so the PIO position in the police department, there's a lot of, over the past 7 years, we've had many people rotate in that position. And the good thing about that position is you kind of learn the other side to police work, right? You understand it's a learning experience in terms of timeliness of information and relevance of information and ensuring that information gets delivered in the proper medium, but also, making that connection, right? And he sees a lot of stuff on social media. He'll come and tell me, hey, I don't do it. I'm not on there unless I need to, there's no one around and something needs to happen. I can always do it. But, he'll come and say, hey, this is kind of picking up some traction. What do we want to do here? So it's learning that kind of middle ground, the temperament. You can't constantly be chasing down rumors and responding because that's all he would be doing all day, which is just unproductive. So yeah, Hector is also, I think, a lot of people know him in the community. And I think, I've said many times before, what makes a good officer, in my opinion, is you have to have that tactical component, that, practical component of how to do your job, right? The actual things that you do, knowing the law, handling situations. But then the other side of it is that you have to have that community component or that personal component, that humane connection. And I think, Hector is like the best balance in the middle, right? He's on our SWAT team. He's handled certain things. He knows how to deal with it. But on the other side, he knows how to connect with people and truly and genuinely. So, I truly appreciate Hector. A lot of people, I think, I'll just say he kind of became quote unquote famous during our protest where he was he was breakdancing with some of our protesters. That video went viral, right? And so Hector's much more than just that little breakdancing routine. So I like to always say that because, people will say, are you the guy? I was just with you somewhere and someone said, are you the guy with the breakdancer? So, I mean, in one respect, you're like, well, that's pretty, that's like a good thing, right? Like he's known for something really that was I was there. That was not scripted. It wasn't fake. It was so organic, right? But I also like to tell people, like, Hector's much more than just his, breakdancing skills, right? Very smart, intelligent, has a master's degree, has been in the police department, just does amazing things. So, I like to bring people on the show so that they get to meet the people, in the building who make the department as great as it is. So, but I want to just go over a couple things that happened this week, and then I want to get into and Hector will be here with me once a month. So as we move forward with this PIO position, so he's going to come on once a month and just kind of talk from his perspective, some of the things that, he wants to get out.
Chief, if I may,
go
real
ahead.
quick.
Yeah.
Also, I'm in charge of the Explorers program that we have in Elgin in the police department. And I just want to say, good luck to the Explorers. They're actually leaving for a national competition to California.
Wow.
They're taking off Saturday. So good luck, guys. Bring me a trophy or two.
Yes, good
and
luck.
we'll be really
We won't
happy.
be mad if you don't, but bring us a trophy or two. Yes. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, I want to talk briefly about, we've had 3 shots fired incidents that happened since July 3rd through July 9th. And so year to date, and I think it's important, I always talk about shots fired and the less, I'll give the number. And, this year, we're at 16 incidents, and last year at this time we were at 38. So it's almost a 60% reduction. So we have seen a decrease this year in our shots fired. We had one on July 3rd in the 200 block of Villa. We had one on July 5th in the 300 block of Gifford, and then one on July 9th in the 600 block of Raymond. All those cases are still under investigation by our Major Investigations Division. But what I want to stress is, as we make our way, we're almost to August, right? Realistically, if you think about it. So as we make our way towards the end of the year, I was talking with our crime analyst, Ryan Drake, who's been on the show multiple times with me, for us to start doing this deeper analysis into why are we seeing this reduction. So we haven't changed any philosophy. We haven't changed any strategy. We work with federal partners. We, have officers are recovering guns and making great cases from our special investigations group and major investigations group and our patrol officers. We're talking about it. We're making sure that we're looking at the areas that we need to address. So we're doing all the same things that we've been doing over the past 7 years, But, why are we seeing this reduction? So we're going to hopefully in this next couple of weeks here have a little bit, again, this is very anecdotal. There's so many reasons why crime happens. There's social, economics things. There's the climate, the political climate. There's people aging out of crime. There's so many different things. Or you make one or two good arrests of people who are involved in these incidents, and then all of a sudden you see this vast reduction of crime. So, to me, that's the gauge. Obviously, we use crime stats to see how we're doing as a community, but also understanding that just because today I'm sitting here, and I've said it many times, when I could sit here and say we're at 16 as opposed to 38, right? That's a good thing, instead of what has been happening, we've seen an increase. And when we see the increase, I talk about it, good, bad, or otherwise. So I think it's important that the community knows that we are at that reduction. We're not exactly sure why yet. The why is very important. And so, over these next couple of weeks here, we're going to be able to give some of that information and try to, see, what is it? And is there something that we can, kind of take and then, do something with that, right? Is there some strategy there that maybe we're not seeing, that now maybe it gives us some insight to adjust some of our policies or our practices? So wanted to mention that again. If anyone has any information on any of these, you can call 847-289-2600. Text a tip, send a message to 847-411, include Elgin PD in the beginning of the text, or you can go to our www.cityofelgin.org/crime tip, and then you can also find all updates on our transparency site. So I wanted to mention that. And then really what I wanted to talk about today is just a couple things, so we're getting ready to launch season 2. Of Somebody Knows Something. So the buzz is here, right? And we've been listening to it and hearing it. So I wanted to be able to come on the show and talk a little bit about, what that season's going to look like. Obviously with Hector as the new PIO, there's the podcast that our detectives do, and, the reach is far and wide. And we saw that with season 1. But from, our perspective too, what are some things that we can do? So, today Hector's going to be releasing a video on social media that he put together to kind of create this buzz and get people really interested in it, because the success of season 1 was so many different things. And it was great detectives, putting people in the right place, a community that was engaged, people that were curious and interested, and then obviously support that comes from internally through the department. But that connection with the community to generate leads absolutely helped us, and so I think as we roll into season 2 here, it's important that we kind of just highlight it and really kind of, put that exclamation point on, how we're going to make it bigger and better. Because I think the expectation is there, but obviously, I'll kind of give you guys a little taste of what season 2 is going to be. So season 2, and I'm going to read it verbatim. This is from Detective Andrew Houghton, who is one of our detectives. We are now going to be joined by a new detective, Detective Chris Hall. Detective Chris Hall is taking Detective Matt Vartanian's spot, who is now Sergeant Vartanian. So a brand new detective to join Andrew. So season 2, it will be Elgin, the 1970s, and it will follow the Elgin Police Department Cold Case Unit as they review 5 cold case homicides and 1 missing person case, all of which occurred between 1970 and 1979. How old were you, Hector, in 1970?
Oh my God, I wasn't even born.
Exactly. All right, well, I was born in 1974, so, I'm not that far off here, okay? With Detective Matt Vartanian's promotion to Sergeant, Detective Andrew Houghton is joined by new cold case detective Chris Hall for season 2. And this season, which will launch on Monday, August 11th, Houghton and Hall will review the shootings of Guadalupe Alanis in 1971, Maynard Chester Holly in 1975, 16-year-old Lori Bolger case, her homicide, the disappearance of 14-year-old Barbara Gluckert in 1976, the death of Casey Kiles in 1977, and the homicide of Renee Tovar in her home in 1979. So we're really inviting the community to join along as we look at and revisit 1970 cold cases from the Elgin Police Department. And most importantly, remember the victims and seek justice for the victims and their families. So that's a little taste of what we're going to be doing. I was here, I think this week or last week, and we recorded a bonus episode for season 1 to kind of wrap that up. And so we're going to launch. Hector, do you want to talk a little bit about this video and kind of launching what's our strategy in terms of, getting the buzz around this?
Yeah, 100%. So like the chief said, it's important that the community stays engaged, and I think detectives liked it when the community participated, and essentially it's a job that not only the police department, we take on, all right? So it's part of the community as well. I think a lot of the good tips, the information that comes from the community, it does not go on, unnoticed, unrecognized. The detectives look at everything, and to make this, successful and hopefully break these cases. I mean, I spoke to both of them. They're both excited. I think it's going to be a good season. I'm going to put the information on Facebook today, later on. So if you have a phone, make sure you scan that QR code and save it on your phone so that you keep up with the episodes as they move along with season number 2. It's going to be interesting.
And as we're looking at, we're taking 6 cases, right, and really kind of opening up, here are these cases. So, Karen Sheeper's case was very different because it was a missing persons case, and there was, there were things that, so much time had passed, and even with these cases, you're talking almost 50 years ago. So, it's very, if you imagine what Elgin was like in the 1970s, so some parts of Elgin, you can walk by it right now, it still looks like the 1970s or the 1950s. And I think that's this nostalgia of, why people like Elgin so much. It's that historic, kind of, homegrown, very, community oriented that, a lot of people, you don't get in the big cities, right? You go to Chicago, and again, Chicago has some beautiful architecture, and you're looking at some of these buildings and the history of Chicago. But when you come to Elgin, and it's like, we're big enough, right? We're, the city and the suburbs, the city and the suburbs. That's the thing, right? So think about that. So these cases, and you think about investigative leads and how detectives were in the 70s and how the police department is, it's really a nice little way to peel that envelope back so people can see it, right? And we're very open with it. And again, as the detectives kind of do these podcasts and we start releasing them, there's probably going to be a lot of information coming in because we're talking about 6 different cases. Right. So each episode will be, a case, but, people are going to hopefully go back and revisit it. And, I know that WRMN has been a great partner with us, recording the podcast, doing our marketing. I mean, so you guys, I really, truly appreciate, our partnership. Outside of just a radio show, right? Every Friday, it's like thinking, differently to really, have a great outcome, which is, families that get closure, and well, we use that word very loosely because closure is it's relative to the person, but, there's a sense of that we are paying attention, and these cases are not just sitting on shelves. So, so that's season 2. So if anybody, again, Hector's going to put some information out on social media today. We're going to release, I think we're releasing the bonus episode. I don't know. Do you know?
I think it's early August, maybe, or the end of the month here.
To wrap up season 1, and then we'll get into season 2. So,
and Chief, one thing too, also obviously, there's been a 1970, case or cases. It's important that we have a lot of listeners or Facebook followers that are college, high school. Find that uncle that was it was around during that the 1970s. Go to your grandparents, go to your mom and dad, and get information. Maybe they're not familiar with the podcast, but maybe introduce them to it, and they can provide some information, right? I mean, that's what I would do. I would go to my uncles, my older siblings, probably if they were around that age. Or that time in the 70s, and then they can have some information to provide.
And you know what? It just dawned on me too, because I was thinking about, and again, as we transition to, kind of like leveraging the community to help us solve cases, the connections that people. So Hector has a kind of a unique story. That picture, right? The picture when you were with Officer now retired Jeff Schultz or Sergeant Jeff Schultz. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, this is how it kind of comes full circle, the engagement that the community, the police department has with the community. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about that.
So I grew up in the neighborhood over here to the northeast of Elgin, and Prospect area, Summit, San Francis Park, if you guys are familiar with it. So that was one of my hangout spots, go play soccer there, go to the playground. I was about 13 years old when I first had the opportunity to join one of the EPD events where they had a water tank, they had other soccer games, football games for the community. So I was there, and it the little that I can remember is it was just amazing to see the police officers engaging with the community the way they were doing it. And I kind of said to myself, that's what I want to do. I want to be able to, become a police officer and then give back to the community. And maybe somebody just like me, they can look up to me and say, well, if he can do it, I can do it. Right. Yeah. So what the chief is saying, there's a picture. There was actually a news article that they wrote, and my picture just ended up being there because I was high-fiving one of the I think it was actually Sergeant Schultz's wife, which was next to him. She was high-fiving me, and that picture made it in a Daily Herald, and somebody showed it to me, and I cut it off, and I still have it, and it's also in the police department as part of like our history, and it's just and it's pretty cool how, to see the evolution, right? Like growing up, and then looking at the police department, looking at them, being inspired by the police department and the officers, and then becoming one, right?
And seeing how far you've come.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and then giving back also to the community, and kind of trying to do the same thing, right? Be a role model, and hopefully other kids that see themselves in me, they can say, oh, I can do it too, and I'm gonna do it better, right? I want people to do it better because there's always room for improvement and to do things much better than we used to do. So,
Absolutely.
So it's a good memory, and it's still there, and something, like I said, that I cherish, and my family knows it. They know that I after that article came on the newspaper, I said I wanna become a police officer, and I started working towards that goal, and joined the military, and then came back, and then I started applying, and I got in.
What's great too is, that story can inspire other people who might be listening in, maybe who have kids or grandkids, and maybe they're listening in, they're like, wow, that's inspirational. Maybe that might encourage me to maybe step out of my comfort zone and maybe do something like that. Or, I've had kind of this interest in doing it now that's definitely helped out. So telling your story, I think, is always so important too. So,
Yep.
I mean, I think it's one of those things too. It's like when you hear like, a 13-year-old kid being inspired by something that, now he has the opportunity to do every day in the police department. And I think people don't, I think sometimes people do think about like, people wake up in the morning, they do their thing, right? They make their coffee, they get in their car, they go to work. It's like this sometimes Groundhog Day. It's like this routine. And I think sometimes if you take this step back and realize like, this day is only coming once, right? At least this is my philosophy. Today is the only day that this is it. Today is today, right? You will never live this day again. You will never be able to go back and do stuff. So you can either just float through it, right? And just kind of be like, here we go again. It's Groundhog Day. I got to go to work. This sucks, blah, 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 right? Or you can say, you know what? Today is a day of an opportunity where who knows what I'm going to do, right? Like, and who knows who I can help, or who knows, I think you don't walk and say, today I'm going to inspire tons of people. Like, unless your ego is so huge, right? Like, you just do your thing. And then if people take inspiration from that, or, and you see inspiration from other people who are just doing their thing, I think those moments sometimes, should be talked about more, right? Like just the mundane routine. Yes, it can be that. But if you're trying to maybe, shift your paradigm of thinking, and here it is, that day out there, he's just doing his thing, and he sees this police officer, and now here he is, X number of years later, and now tons of people look up to Hector, right? And it's absolutely been an inspiration to people. So, that's how life comes full circle. So I think sometimes the mundane and it's like finding the excitement in like the everyday, because it's only coming once. You're only going to get this day, and that's it. So do you want, at the end of your life, and I tell people all the time, at the end of your life, when you're however old you are, 80, 100, whatever it is, right? If you make it that long, right, that's number one. And you're going to be sitting there and thinking like, all right, so what did I do? Like, did I help someone?
Right.
Did I make it better for someone? Did I truly enjoy like what life is? Or did I just sit there and negative, constantly wanted to fight with people, have a bad attitude? It's just, I don't know. Like, I want to be sitting there at the end of my life thinking like, yeah, that was, you take the ride and you see what it go, and you enjoy it, and you don't look back with any type of regret. So, I love that story, because I just was thinking about that picture, because there's more to Hector, and I think that's the purpose of bringing people on this show, is get to know the officers. Hector's going to be there for another, I don't think you have 30 years left.
No,
No,
not quite.
but you have some time left,
Some
right?
time left,
You
yes.
know, and so the future leaders of the department, or the leaders now, right, or the people who are going to eventually sit in my seat, you know, like, it's good that people get to know people and see who they are and what they're about and what they believe and what they think. And, you know, what a great opportunity. And part of that is the community too. You know, the community, Hector and I could go somewhere. I don't know if, so Al Young, there's a commander, he retired as my deputy chief, Al Young. And he had been in the police department for almost 30 years. Anytime Al and I would go, like, it didn't matter where I was. Like, I could be in Boston or somewhere and be like, do you know Al Young? Because once they learned I worked for the Elgin Police Department. And I just remember thinking, like, you know, he absolutely made a difference in people's lives, right? And it was nothing more than who he was. Like, he was just a great, you know, just down-to-earth, humble person, right? One of the most funniest people I've ever met in my life. But, you know, it's the same thing. I'll go somewhere and Hector, people are like, oh, how's Hector? Where's Hector? And I love that because it's like, you could tell those are the people that are truly making an impact in the community, right? When the community knows the officer. And that's nothing more than every single encounter that you have, even as a young officer. You're sent to 10 calls a night. That's 10 opportunities to make an ally in the community, right? To make a relationship. And even when you're meeting each other in the worst of circumstances, how do you turn that into something that maybe will be the best of circumstances? Right. So I wanted Hector to share that story, and I know we have a couple minutes left here. So Hector, anything that from, you know, you'll be seeing Hector a lot more as he comes on my show once a month with me. From the PIO perspective, some new things. He's very creative. You know, a lot of, you know, I saw our 4th of July post and we got tons of likes on it. You know, so, you know, very, I think that's the other thing too. It's like, how can we take what we have now? We have, I don't know how many followers on Facebook, because I think you have a goal, right?
Yes, we have 89,000 followers, and the goal is to get to 100,000, obviously. That'll be the breaking, you know, number there, 100,000. So help us. Share the page with, you know, with friends and family, Facebook page. Also, we have an Instagram page that you can follow us on. And stay tuned. I mean, there's a lot more coming. The little posts that we do and the Facebook page and on Instagram, it's just a little bit of what we do. I mean, officers do great things all the time. And we try to capture those moments as much as we can, especially through the community engagement and things like that. But I also encourage at the same time, you know, community members, if you ever see a police officer doing a great thing, you know, snap a picture, snap a video, send it to me. I'll share the love, you know, and I think we like to hear it. We like, you know, to involve the community as much as we can, and so help us out with that as well. So
I think we're going to start a campaign, right? We got to think of a phrase, right, to get us to 100,000. We got to think of a catchy phrase here, right?
Yep.
So if you're listening, like Hector said, you know, I know a lot of the listeners do follow us on Facebook, and again, I just want to say thank you to, you know, the listeners of WRMN, and thank you to the community for a safe 4th of July. The next really big event, obviously Nightmares in October. There's a couple events in between. I'm trying to think. The end of summer bash. There's
National Night Out
on August 2nd. So there's some stuff coming up as, you know, I'll be here next week, and maybe I'll just kind of do a rundown of some upcoming events. But anything else, Hector? Do you want to say hi to anyone so you don't get in trouble?
Just a shout out to the people, Hector Soto. Yep, how's it going? Anybody else, obviously, that is listening? Hi, I know some of my friends listen to the radio show as well, but they're probably too shy to send a chat message. The Explorers, again, good luck in the competition.
Good luck, Explorers. Yep.
You got this.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do, you know, the Explorers, just on a side note, they're out at these events with us too, right? And they're earning hours. They're not paid. They're not compensated monetarily, but they're earning, you know, community service time and hours for the post, which will eventually help them, you know, down further in their career. But they do a great job, you know, young adults who, you know, have a passion for law enforcement. So thank them for what they do. Today, I think we have our Citizen Police Alumni Association cookout.
Yeah, so thank you to them as well.
Thank you. They do a cookout for the police officers and for the department, you know, a couple times a year. So
yes.
Thank you to them. And, you know, really, I hope everyone has a great weekend. Stay safe, and I'll be back next Friday.
Awesome. Well, thank you, of course, both for joining us again here. And what's great, too, I was like looking at the Elgin Police Department Facebook page. You know, recently there was Golf with the Cop.
Yes.
Was something recent that you had as well, too. So they, of course, they wished a big thank you to the participants. Looked like it was a great time. And again, of course, being a part of that community is so important. That's what I love about Elgin. It's so personable.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, even though it's fairly large, it's also small enough to where we can all, it's a small world.
Yes,
So
it
we all
is.
get to know each other and experience life together.
Exactly. Yes. All right. Well, everyone have a great weekend and, be safe.
Thank you, Elgin.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, folks, we'll take a quick time out. We'll be back with more here on WRMN AM 1410. Stay tuned as we be back in just a little bit.